Hello and welcome to the Erskine Arts YouTube channel. Welcome to the vinyl countdown. I'm Jason.
Oh, I'm Craig.
No, never done it before, and it's not even the first one.
I'm definitely still Craig.
So it doesn't make sense. I'm still Jason.
I'm definitely still
Alistair.
Ali.
Your label sticker.
Ali.
Thanks,
Tuck that in. Yeah, we're back at it. We're back, just like Brian Johnson's song. We are all wearing black, pretty much, actually.
Yeah.
Which makes sense when it's 26 degrees outside in Scotland.
In a tiny
room. The size you can see is actually it. That's it. There's no other space. Next time, we have three more vinyl to talk about. 3 more albums. 3 more artists to talk about and to get involved with. So Ali's going to kick us off for this one, aren't you, Ali?
Yeah, I went with Eagles, Hotel California.
That's not filming.
I'm not filming.
That's
We
not
start
filming
again.
yet. There you go.
Not now.
Oh, we don't need that.
You don't need
Yeah.
to start again. I'll just cut. It's real.
Yeah, I went for the. I was going to say the Eagles. It's just Eagles.
It is just Eagles.
Eagles, Hotel California. I don't know which camera. Down here.
Yeah, we've got a close-up cam because we treat you.
This is. It feels weird not saying it feels the Eagles. This is the Eagles.
I don't even know them.
The Eagles. This is the Eagleses. This is the Eagles' 5th studio album.
Actually, the Eagles, you still said the. You
The
just
Eagles.
added on Z's.
Easies.
The Easies.
5th studio album.
Easy top.
We're done with the ZZs?
Yeah.
Right, cool. 5th studio album by Eagles. That just sounds weird.
Just say the Eagles.
The Eagles.
It's good. We're 5 minutes down already.
I know that's good. My content's rubbish anyway, so.
Do you want me to hold it and you can talk about it?
Yeah, that'd
so
be
we
good
can get a
actually.
bit of that,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
so you don't need to concentrate.
Of course this won a Grammy. And I think it's like sitting mid-30s of Rolling Stones 100
Is it really?
greatest albums.
I will be up there, I'm sure. Yeah.
And the main album title track. I like how they've not even got their name on the.
No, they don't actually.
don't.
You're right. That happens sometimes. That. I just realised that was such a weird response to say that. And at the end of the day.
3 singles off of this album: Hotel California, obviously. The other 2 being Take It Easy and
Is it Life in the Fast
Life in
Lane?
the Fast Lane.
Is the Eagles?
I'm sure they're just credited though as Eagles
Well,
in a lot of things.
I'm pretty sure it's just Eagles.
No, I mean
The Eagles
it's their
are.
band in it, so.
But is it just saying the Eagles are instead of just saying Eagles are? Because see on like Spotify now, I think it's just Eagles they're down as.
Yeah.
Mm.
Get in
Interesting
touch with them.
I'm sure they'll reply.
fact.
Clear it up.
I wonder if they could even walk to the phone. Then
Nice group shot. That's the whole band right there.
Need to check the poster inside. It's
all
exceptional
40,000
image.
members.
Recorded in Miami, and you're not really into this. You're not really
No.
into Eagles.
Not at all, man. Although I do like Take It Easy. It's a great tune. I like Don Henley's solo stuff.
Yeah, the guitars on this album are outstanding. I think particularly on Hotel California, we get a nice flavour of both the Dons,
Joe Walsh
Joe Walsh,
and Don
Joe Walsh
Felder.
and Don Felder, sort of trading off guitar lines.
Yeah.
The title track, a guitar part by Don, I think a few years back before they recorded that. And when they went into the studio to record this, I think they were putting down the guitar part and it wasn't the initial demo. I think they were dead keen on it being the way he had played it originally. Just wasn't getting the vibe, I don't think,
Alright.
of the part. So story goes, he had to phone his housekeeper to read through his demo cassettes, and
then he copied what was on the demo cassette.
he got her to play it through the speaker really loud over the phone,
Oh, wow.
I quite like
and then
that.
they had
That's
to, and then they realised that it was a totally different song.
And they just recorded it from the phone.
That'd be
Straight from
That'd
the
be
phone
good,
That
back in the
is
studio.
so black metal. That'd be brilliant.
Interesting enough, black metal, no, kind of
Is that a segue?
segue.
Was it?
Segue.
Oh, I wish I did that one now. It would be so good.
In the studio in Miami when they were recording this, Black Sabbath were also in the other studio room, and of course Black Sabbath would have been pretty loud and monstrous. So I think that was pretty difficult trying to record acoustic guitars.
Yeah, certainly
things.
vastly different bands for
I know.
sure. I wouldn't want to be stuck next to Sabbath if they were recorded, but obviously it would be amazing. But do you know what I mean? If I was in Eagles and and you were trying to record delicate wee parts.
Bill Ward's just like using hammers in a drum kit.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be too happy about that. Yeah, that was just a wee story that they were in. Album artwork. It's the photograph of the Beverly Hills Hotel, also known as the Pink Palace or something like that.
Oh really?
And deliberately shot to look grainy as well. The
Was it
film
really?
they used, aye.
Oh, I see. I
Um,
always thought it just looked honking.
I know it was a
you know.
purposeful decision with the millimeter of the film they took the photos on.
And then the logo was airbrushed,
We'll cut to that
In.
as well.
and some of the other detailing, I think, on the hotel was airbrushed. And I think they said they took the photograph again.
Was it they took a
Or
photograph,
took a photograph
of
of a photograph.
Well, did they really? 'Cause that's what it looks like.
Yeah,
It's wild.
with
It's
the
weird
airbrush over it.
for that to be a purposeful choice.
Aye, because it's not a nice cover at all.
No, I mean, Ali, we were saying that before we started rolling. Kelly Rowland.
That biscuit. That song called
Keep rolling.
Yeah, Rolling in the Deep, Adele.
You see me rolling?
Not just a computer. So, yeah, we're saying it's weird because if this wasn't, it's a super famous album cover because it is this album. But
It's
if it was
not
just
a particularly
photo,
amazing photograph.
it's really
I would
not.
say.
And even out of the albums we've got today, it's not a great cover. Like if this charted a top album covers, I'd be dead disappointed because it's not the album cover, it's the album. If this was a stinker of an album, it wouldn't be in the top album covers. It might not be. I'm just making that
I
up.
can't imagine it would be. I mean, it really is pretty unamazing.
Anyway, that's me.
Yeah.
Hotel California.
The only thing I was going to add
Eagles.
is Joe Walsh just joined the Eagles just before this album.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he wasn't on the previous records. I mean, he kind of brought a much harder edge. So if you listen to Eagles albums before this, obviously they were quite, I was going to say dainty, but that is an insult in it. It's not really a compliment to be called dainty.
I don't know.
Delicate.
I would take that.
Which you,
Aye.
you'll never be said
Dainty
to you.
Craig.
Dainty Craig.
Up for it. Won't you Dainty Craig, man?
Before that, a lot of ballads, obviously they still had that, but songs like Life in the Fast Lane is kind of an out just rock track, and Joe Walsh brought that when he joined the group. It's not filming. He brought a kind of harder edge to them because he was playing hard rock and blues. I do love Joe Walsh. I've got a lot of time for Joe Walsh's solo career, more so than Eagles. Could have brought one of his.
Definitely got some
Rocky
killer
Mountain
tunes,
Way.
man. Rocky Mountain Way is amazing. Life's Been Good.
Life's Been Good. Life of Illusion. That's a great tune.
I don't know that, man.
It's good.
No,
Trust
that's
me. That's that.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So for my album on this episode, I have picked The Birthday Party. Prayers on Fire.
Do you want me to hold it
Yes.
so you can talk?
So The Birthday Party are one of Nick Cave's first bands. I'm sure you know Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, amongst other things. But this was his first band. They were called actually the Boys Next Door. Originally, when they all met in high school in Melbourne. A lot of the guys that would appear in Nick Cave's later career. Like Tracy Pugh, Mick Harvey, Ryland S. Howard.
Who? What was his name?
Jason and I had a chat about how you pronounce Ryland S. Howard.
I knew you were going to say it so quickly to get past it, and I was like, I'm going to point it out.
Right. So I've never said his name aloud before, and I was like, is it Rowland? Is it Roland? Is it Roland?
What was the second one you just said?
Roland?
Roland.
Well, we googled it,
We googled
but it
it,
was an
right.
American accent that said it.
Roland.
Roland.
They might have got it wrong because they say Craig. They pronounce Craig
Crag.
as Craig.
Yeah.
They put an E, just CRED.
CRDE. Pride.
So yeah, and I don't know if I said Mick Harvey, but Mick Harvey's obviously super important in the canon of Nick Cave musical output. So this album came out in 1981. It was on the amazing label 4AD. This was their first.
label.
So good, man. So many great records on 4AD. This was their first full length album, the debut full length for the birthday party. So they'd all met in school, and they started in the early 70s, like 73 or 74, just like doing punk covers and pretty wild band.
You right there, Jason?
Yeah, I'm really struggling. I was just hoping
It's,
you wouldn't
it's not
notice.
the right. It's a,
Just off cam. Yeah, so they've been playing since the early 70s. And I guess that kind of late 70s Australian rock scene, I suppose. Some bands that I really love, like Radio Birdman, one of my favourite bands. And I love The Saints as well, another cool punk band. It kind of brought that rock legitimacy. You know, I think it was just Sydney and Melbourne, to be fair. But the boys next door, as they were then, they moved to London. That's when they signed to 4AD. I can't remember who they were signed to. Missing Link?
Yeah.
Missing Link. License from Missing Link. And they signed to 4AD over in London. They didn't like the experience of London, so they patched it and moved back. Kind of they went to Sydney, they went back to Sydney, or they done a wee stint in Berlin, but anyway they went back to tour in Australia, not psyched about the experience in London, pretty disillusioned with it all. And that's when they recorded this record. It came out in 81. So
it's quite odd, isn't it? Because
You think it's the place to
London
go?
would have been the place
Yeah.
to be in the 70s, you know?
And so then they came over to
Still
London in
pretty
1980. And they just... Oh.
That was our timer.
I can still see it.
I can still see it.
They went into the experience, they didn't like it. And going back to Australia, like they get really a reputation for really fierce live band, really intense live band, pretty wild, really quite violent actually, their live sound. I think though this album isn't as lauded as the record they would do next, Junkyard, there's something cool about this. Like it feels really uncontrolled, like it's pretty feral sounding.
Nick Cave, Uncontrolled.
Really?
This is really where he was cutting his teeth as that kind of wild frontman thing, and although obviously he's quite a different performer now, there's still something there. Like when you go and see any kind of Nick Cave show live where he's performing vocals, there's like, you feel like
You're on the cusp of something happening.
something dangerous maybe, like there's something there, there's just a veneer protecting it or hiding you from it. And I guess this is where he really cut his teeth doing that. So that, I guess that live reputation they built, their live shows were, you know, really well regarded. And although they've kind of shied away, Nick Cave has done this, you know, as he's grown as a songwriter and a lyricist, particularly given, I mean, I definitely consider Nick Cave as one of the greatest lyricists of all time. But maybe not so much with this
Some of
chat.
the lyrics are quite special.
My heart is a fish.
Yeah, there's also, turn this wee guy back on for a wee second. There's also, I don't know the relevance of some words being in red. Do you?
No.
You notice I get a wee focus in there. Some words, some specific words are in red. That was worth turning that camera on.
Does it create a sentence if you read them all out?
Fats with words, hole I stuck it. Doesn't create a sentence, but
Floor.
it creates.
Just
Right,
floor.
so fats with words, whole floor I stuck it. I don't think there's anything in that. Unless it's dead cryptic. It reminds me of Jack White and the White Stripes had an obsession with the number 3. Letter 3. Number 3 was right the first time. And it would be a different colour in every record. People don't know why. Sorry, I'm hijacking your thing.
I don't know about that, to be fair.
That was
What
it
does
there.
more-
You want to do it?
So that line, the lyric I was talking about, My heart is a fish, toasted by flames. It's pretty solid high school lyrics.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
You know?
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Aye, totally. So he definitely kind of shies away from the lyrics on this record, and I think it's, you know, but they were a young band, you know, I think it's fair, and, you know, especially when you consider what he's brought to the table now, you know. So while they kind of distanced from this record at the time, and I guess I'm sure it's still the case, they were pretty pleased that they managed to kind of capture that live thing. We've spoken about it a couple of times, and, you know, in the chats that we've had, sometimes the difficulty the bands have is taking that magic thing in a live setting, and how do you commit that to record?
It's impossible.
I think they did it pretty well on this album. They were quite happy, and that was because of experience they'd had in the studio. They weren't happy with, because it wasn't their first time recording. They'd done other EPs under the Boys Next Door and stuff, that they were really prepared for this one. They knew what they wanted, and crucially they knew what they didn't want. And it's this really intense rhythmic album. There's something really fearless about this record. It's not as refined as it would become later on. It's just, it feels pretty chaotic.
I love it.
It's amazing.
Just from that little bit I heard, I thought it sounded great.
Do you know what, when I first heard this record, I think I was 12, maybe 12 or 13, and
I can see how that would speak to you at that age.
I was all about it. Yeah, it was just, that was the perfect thing for me. So I was really into Motorhead and the Sex Pistols at a young age, and that was amazing, being exposed to that, and then hearing this, and it felt like it came from the same tree, but it was so crazy. I loved it. But when I hear about this album and I think about this album, it reminds me of studying for my standard grades. That's what I listened to. Yeah, so I'd sit at my mum and dad's kitchen table with headphones on, a wee CD player, personal CD player, and I listened to this record while I was studying.
That's
pretty good. So yeah, amazing album.
What grades did you
Great,
get?
back album artwork. I really like that.
And Nick Cave painted that.
Nicholas Cave, as it says.
Nicolas
Cage.
Cage.
I've never, obviously his name would be Nicholas, but I've never seen it actually written down. Nicholas
Mr. Cave. No.
Nicholas.
Yeah, so he painted that. But yeah, amazing. Like, I guess a kind of goth post-punk band, I suppose, if you had to put them in a genre. But definitely, if you've not heard the album, check it out, because it is absolutely dynamite. Pretty amazing.
Nice. Last but certainly not least.
Well,
is this where we're going to start off? Well, there you go. Oi! Slade.
Surprise, surprise.
What does that mean? I've not done a Slade album.
that's true, aye.
I've not even spoken about Slade on this.
Really?
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, Slade is
Aye,
Slade's
It's
your
up there.
Kiss.
No, that's Aerosmith.
Aerosmith's just
Aye,
Slade are there though, aren't
See,
they?
for British bands, Slade's up there.
Mhm.
Well, Ali says surprise, surprise, because he knows, my friend knows that I like Slade. But you're all meant to know that as well. Surprise. Do you know what I mean? It'd be different if it was a U2 album.
If you don't know, you should know.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Slade. They'd be like my British equivalent to Aerosmith. I think Slade's pretty much... Yeah, I love Slade.
More than Zeppelin?
That's it, yeah. 100%. Yeah, for sure.
Wild.
I think they're quite different though. In
Yeah.
their sound.
No,
I think
for
they're
sure,
quite hard
it's like a British rock band.
I like Deep Purple quite a lot as well.
Mm.
But we're here to talk about Slade. So this is our third studio album, but their fourth we're recording in here. Someone else, I don't know if
Yes,
it
I
was.
would
You
So
do you want
aggressive.
to hold one
See, we
side?
can do it together.
You could hold one side. Yeah, the third studio original album, but the fourth album in total. I've done that there. The fourth album in total. Before that, for Slade's first album. So if you don't know Slade, British band, kind of formed in the mid to late 60s. What were you doing? You doing something shady?
I was just highlighting his nipple.
Cool. I'll definitely use that. Yeah, so formed in the kind of mid 60s. I never really got, it's crazy, I never really got a game until this album, or the one just before it. But this album is where they started to cement themselves kind of a serious band that people were properly listening to. They were known as Ambrose Slade in their first album.
Oh, really?
That was their name.
Ambrosia, creamed rice.
Tasty little healthy treat. Guilt free for those on a low fat diet. Yeah, the first album was called Beginnings, and it sounds vastly different to this. They're kind of going for that experimental 60s kind of
Is that recording?
influenced.
Yeah, cool.
Influenced by American sounds. So there's lots of like lutes, mandolins, and it's got
really?
that kind of vibe to it. Yeah, totally drastically different to what people think of when they think of Slade. They also had a skinhead vibe at the beginning.
I still had heard about that.
That's what they were trying to get, and they noticed it wasn't working. So they kind of manufactured this glam vibe that they kind of continued throughout their career. You were going to say something.
I was just going to say the week later they grew hair like that.
Dave Hill has the most outrageous haircut.
I'm just jealous.
I might actually put you. No, you're not jealous of that.
I'm not. He's quite a weird looking guy, isn't he?
Yeah,
I mean, it's like he's obviously got quite a good physique, and then it's like.
I don't know, man. That looks like Brent sucking in, doesn't it? He's like putting his arm there to suck in the belly.
Yeah, it's like trying to tense up. It's a bit of a flex.
I'm going to go first next time because this is what happens when we go last. Yeah, so this album is the first album I heard from Slade, and it is my favourite Slade album into the bargain. So up until this point, they had 2 different albums, and then they released a live album called Slade Alive, which kind of exploded, kind of what Craig was talking about, that trying to capture. Some bands just really started out and they were like a great live act but couldn't really capture it on record, so Slade decided we'll do a live album, and Slade Alive 1 and 2 are both regarded as pretty important albums. In fact, there's a lot of importance that actually came from Slade, but they're still not a band that's actually destroying my actual records.
Well, Kiss Alive, they named it in tribute to this because they were such a big fan of the band.
Yeah, so Slade went to America and tried to break America and failed, and then came back with their tail between their legs. It is an old record.
No, I did have it in.
So it's a bit.
I didn't have it in.
Slade was their. This can stop recording now, actually, can it? This was their first #1 album in the UK. Up to that point, I think they charted top 20 for some of their things, especially for Slade Alive, but this was their first UK #1, and they would have subsequent #1 albums after this. Next album was Old New Borrowed and Blue. Was next. It's nowhere near as good as this. It's good album artwork, I actually think. I think it's quite good.
I like it that Noddy's not in the middle. I like when the lead singer's
Dave's
not
probably
standing.
the biggest standout there.
Yeah.
With his haircut.
They did want it to be called Slades, but they didn't have enough fingers to write Slades on.
Which is what you need to base a kind of name on if it fits on your. Well, I guess you've got 10, haven't you, really?
Mm.
Yeah, so Slade actually, a few kind of things that made them pretty important in the scene. They were the biggest selling British band of the 1970s based on singles. Now, obviously, a lot of that is due in part to their huge Christmas song. It's just called Merry Christmas, everyone, isn't it?
Is it?
Because they all have the same names. It's like Merry Christmas, Everybody, Merry Christmas, Everyone.
Yeah.
But we all know the Slade Christmas song. It's always voted #1 best Christmas song in all these stupid lists. Unless you make a list as well, in which case yours is cool.
Do you think Slade would be...
Yeah, I like what you do, but not you.
Do you think they would be as big as they are if it wasn't for their Christmas song?
No.
And do you think that they've been tainted because of their Christmas song? Like, people just think of Slade.
Yeah, but they definitely
people don't listen to Slade because they just think of Christmas #1 and maybe don't give them the time of day.
I definitely think when you say Slade, they go, the Christmas song.
Yeah.
And I think if you go name another Slade song, some people might say Mama, We're All Crazy Now.
Mm-hmm.
They'll say Come On, Feel the Noise. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people put that to being Quiet Riot's song.
How does it feel?
Oh, yeah.
That is an incredible... I mean, they have some spectacular songs and spectacular sounds. Dave Hill being... In fact, on this channel, there is a series called Highway to the Guitar Zone, which may or may not be up by the time this is up. But I'm going to do one on Dave Hill here from Slade at some point. I think he's a super underrated guitar player, and some of the tones and riffs and solos as well, and ways that he thought of putting parts together are actually quite special.
He does look like he should be in the Red Hot Chili Peppers, doesn't he?
Oh, he definitely has that feel.
Yeah.
That taps that feel.
I mean, there we go. This Goodbye to Jane was also a big hit for him.
Goodbye to Jane!
But Mama We're All Crazy Now is a spectacular song.
It is, yeah, super simple as well. I mean, it's all based on that kind of that British blues rock explosion that kind of Clapton with Cream and stuff started off. Vox amps, Les Pauls turned up to 11. That's
Just
for
hold it there.
all you just hold it there. That's for all you Spinal Tap fans. Yeah, great. They covered a Jonas. No, they didn't. They covered a Janis Joplin song in this. Move Over.
Ah,
Yeah,
I don't know
it's a big Janis song. It's a great song. I think Slade done it better. It sounds like a Slade song.
that's cool.
Yeah, so I've got a list here. I'm not going to pretend I've memorised this. I've not of bands that have cited Slade as an influence. It's pretty endless and pretty in depth. Obviously, Craig mentioned Kiss. I think Gene Simmons. I've got a kind of book that talks about Slade, and they talk about there's a section in it from Gene Simmons who said he was watching them at a show one time in America when they came over, and he said he hadn't really seen a band quite as tenacious and as like powerful as them, and they had a bit of chat, and I think he was quite a big fan. But some of the artists that have cited Slade as an influence go from Nirvana, Smashing Pumpkins, Ramones, Sex Pistols, The Undertones, The Runaways, The Clash, Kiss, Motley Crue, Poison, Def Leppard, Twisted Sister, The Replacements, Cheap Trick, Oasis, and Quiet Riot, who again covered "Come On Feel the Noise" and made it quite a smash hit.
That's cool.
Yeah, and they've sold 50 million records worldwide as well. So they're see, on paper they're a big hitter for a British band, but still not one. People think of Zeppelin, they think of the Beatles, they think of Deep Purple, Queen. But Slade really was, in its own right, a huge band, and they were about from like '69. But yeah, they were about for this whole thing. So they're about from like 1969, and they kind of finished early '90s. Noddy Holder left the band, and unfortunately never will go back. I don't think at this point. The rumours have spread, but if you do want to see Slade, you can still see them. They still tour. I think the only original
and stuff like that.
No, they recently played World 2. They done it at Christmas time, and Dave Howe I think is the only original founding member at the moment in Slade. They have different everything. So if you want to still see them, you can, but it won't never be the same without Noddy Holder, who I will say one of the most outrageous voices in rock. Unbelievable voice, Noddy, man, and see some of his ballads as well. The powerful singer.
I only know the really I was when we met and started talking about music. I was dead grateful that you put Slade back on, because when I was getting more into music as a wee guy, Come On Feel the Noise and My World Crazy Now, they were there, and I remember putting them on mixtapes and stuff. Back when you made mixtapes, well, you wouldn't have, but we did. We made mixtapes, and then meeting Jason again. And just like putting on tunes in work and putting on Slade, and like I felt like it was all the time. I'd be like, "What's that?" He'd be like, "It's Slade. Told you last week. Told you yesterday." And it's been really good getting back in, because I suppose I was guilty of that. Just a Christmas.
You knew
band.
the hits. Do you know what I mean? Christmas band and like
kind of
Wizard. What other Wizard songs do you know? If I'm sure, I don't think Wizard even had an album out.
Just that song.
Just that
10
song.
times. It's on an album. It's on an LP.
I'd buy that.
The Slade are killer, man. I really need to spend more time getting into them for sure.
And so do you, if you don't know them as well as all the bands, as well as the other bands we've mentioned today. Hope you've enjoyed watching.
Yes.
Like, comment, subscribe, share it, smash the bell. What's that? Is that a toilet flush?
I went to
that whip?
I don't know what I was doing. I had a vision of a
church
bell, a hotel bell, Hotel California.
What's a hotel bell?
Like a reception desk.
Why is it called a hotel bell?
It's not.
Well,
I mean, it's just a bell.
But
a hotel, 40 towers.
I don't know, but the picture of the bell is more of like a ringy bell. Is it not?
Like a town crier bell?
Yeah.
And we'll see you in the next one. Check out our other videos. We have more of these final countdowns up. If you did enjoy any of our silly chat, you can go and watch them. Have you bought a new album recently? Cool. Don't let us know. No, jokes. Tell us in the comments. Let's hold them up. Let's get a thumbnail. What was that? A thumbnail. See you later.
Bye.